Hello everyone, welcome to the Empowered Thoughts Show. My name is M.Refaat. I'll be your host for today. It's a real honor and a privilege to be with you and to have you join me. Today is actually doubly special. First, because it's my second time to have this privilege to be with you here on the show, to host the show. Second is the lesson itself. You see, we're going to get to it in a minute, but this lesson came to me. I'll steal a word that Paul sometimes says. I felt it was downloaded to me from God as I was listening to one of Paul's very recent teachings on me and money and our relationship with money. So it came to me as an extension or an elaboration on that lesson, and I felt that it should come from the Empowered Living community right back to you again. You will be hearing it for the first time, and I'm sure you will find a lot of really great nuggets in it. I'm very excited to share it with you today. But before we get into that, let me just tell you a little bit about myself in case you didn't catch me on the first video. My name is M.Refaat. I'm Egyptian. I'm a pharmacist by education. I'm speaking to you today from my house here in Cairo, Egypt. Again, you know, everybody's isolated. We've been at home for a little over 2 months now. As I said, I'm a pharmacist by education. After a career in corporate and a little bit of training, for almost a year now, I'm doing this right here. Speaking, training, and coaching full-time. I like to focus on self-mastery, self-leadership, and leadership topics in general. I'm also a John Maxwell certified speaker, trainer, and coach. Now, it was very special to me to find the Empowered Living community. I joined about a year ago because I found in the community and in the teachings that are presented by Paul and Roddy my own definition of living an empowered life. And that is understanding the how and why of things first before moving on to the practicalities and the application. So that's always how I like to present the lessons, and that's what we're going to do today. I'll talk to you a little bit about, you know, a diagram, as you can see, and we'll get to it right now, that dissects the topic, and it's very related to the topic of money and financials. Dissecting that, trying to understand some of the background mechanisms that are going on in understanding that, and then moving on to the applications, which we will also get to. There's about 10 or 12 practical lessons we can get out of this, which I have, but today we'll only talk about 3 of them. You can see them right up there in the corner. We'll get to those. So before we jump in right away, I found this is low tech. The last video I also did low tech on a whiteboard. Last time the whiteboard was a little small. Today the lesson is bigger, so the whiteboard itself becomes bigger, but it's how I like to do it. You know, keep it simple. And I thought, you know, if it ain't broke, why fix it? Let's just use the same thing as long as the lesson comes across. So let's jump into the meat of things first. Now, if you didn't catch Paul's 2-part lesson on me and money, you should do that. Finish this one till the end and then go listen to those 2 lessons. They are invaluable. While I was listening to it, Paul hammered on one very specific point, which is that money is an idea, because money is just a reflection of value. It's kind of like an agreement on how valuable something is. On my own time, for example, when I'm putting, you know, how much am I going to ask for a fee, or how much is my salary? It's my value, and it's an agreement on value even when you buy anything. So it's an idea, and ideas are thoughts, and thoughts are energy, and energy is all present all the time. So from that, I thought, so if we elaborate on that a little and break it down, we can see that when it comes to money, it's a balance that's got 3 ways to it, or 3 sides to it. That's why I called it the tri-balance of value. The tri-balance of value. That's an exclusive. You're hearing it here for the first time. The tri-balance of value has got 3 sides to balancing an agreement of value. Now, you will notice that I took out the whole words about money altogether. So if you begin at the top, for example, there is a value of paper banknotes. A value of paper banknotes. I avoided the mention of money. It could be coins, could be whatever it is, but it's not a matter of the paper. It's not what we picture in our heads, you know, that kind of cash coming out of the ATM. This is just paper that in itself means nothing, but there has been an agreement and a promise of value to these pieces of paper. And that promise is made by government. It's not government, federal bank, the whole world, all the governments of the world. But this is usually a value to the banknotes that we use set by the government. We're going to call it a government promised value, a GPV. And you can consider this as the reference. That's what all other values will be referenced against. And then if we move to to another component, which is the value of products and services I want. Everything I'm going to pay for, it's all my payments. It could be luxury items, it could be necessities, but it's things I want and I'm going to pay for. It's my bills, my rent, my cars, whether it's payments on a car, cash for a car, owning a house, insurance. It's my kids' education, it's my own development and my own education, it's my morning coffee, everything. However you want to say it, it's products and services that I want and I'm going to pay for them. And so who sets that value? Who sets the value? It's the vendors, it's the people who are selling me these things. The people who are providing these products or services. And they measure it against the GPV. So they assess their own value, but they tell you or tell me how much that value actually is in paper banknotes based on the GPV that was set, or the value that the government set for those. Now the third thing is when it comes to my value, and this is, I kept it the last, the most important, my own value. Now my value, you could call this my income. It could be a salary, could be money from separate gigs, I could be freelance, it could be whatever it is, it could be investments, whatever it is, it's my own value. Now my value is affected by a few components. My time, because when I do work and when I do provide services or products, what I'm actually giving you is my time, my effort, my knowledge, my experience, and my insights. Those are the things I'm giving you. Even if I work at a 9-to-5 job, if I work part-time, work full-time, work a freelance speaker, trainer, and coach, whatever I do, I'm giving you time, effort, knowledge, experience, and insights in return for paper banknotes. That should represent my value. But I'm the one who sets the value, or the person himself sets the value. So I just want to touch on insights, because in my opinion, you got time, you got effort, you got knowledge that you acquire, and you got experience behind you. But insight is kind of like your fingerprint. It's that magic thing that makes you who you are, because a lot of people can put in the same time, same effort, maybe they have the same knowledge and the same maybe like type of experience, but how that knowledge and experience has actually manifested into my special insights, that is also something people are paying for, whether they're clients or an employer. So it's set by me and it's also measured against the GPV. So you get the picture. All those things are balanced against each other. Take away the whole concept of money, cash, a box of material, something you hold in your hand, and we always look at money as if it's a resource, and is there enough of it or less of it? I'll just give you one example of a dynamic before getting quickly to the last to the last part, which is the three lessons, the three outcomes we can take. If, for example, the government comes at one time and says we're going to make a shift in that value. Now, some of you live in the United States. I assume maybe a big part of you in the audience live in the United States. A lot of other people live outside the United States. I'll give you an example, from the Middle East, in Egypt. Our currency is measured mainly against the dollar, against the US dollar. So there's always shifts in the market. So did the dollar go up? Did it go down? How much is our Egyptian pound against the dollar? Is it going up? Is it going down? And that just affects everything else. So if the government at one time does something, or like the crisis right now with the corona, whatever it is, and they say the value has gone down. The value has gone down of the dollar or the pound. The value has gone down. What we feel usually, especially if we have we get a salary and we have a steady job, is that the things we buy, the prices go up. Why? Because the value is the same, but the measurement that it was measured against has shifted. So the number of banknotes that need to be paid for the same item, for the same value, goes up. You're getting the same value, but the price goes up. Now, your time, your effort, your knowledge, your insights, you give those things to your employer. But what do they do with your salary? Nothing. They don't change it. So what you feel is your value just went down because there was no shift in how many banknotes you get. You were measured directly with what happened over here. So value goes down, prices go up, number of banknotes go up. So if your value was, I do this and I get $100, now I do this exact, I get $100, I do the exact same thing, but the prices of the product I'm buying just went up. So now it's as if my value went down. Now I don't want to hammer this point too much, a little bit of economics, you don't need to think about it, but the point is, it's all affecting each other. And lesson number one, focus on what you can influence. So you can't influence what happens here. You can't influence what happens here unless you decrease the things you want. That's the only short-term influence you can have. If you just say, I'm going to require less things, I will desire less things. But where you can actually focus is, like, if you remember the lesson Stephen Covey, habit number one, be proactive, focus on your circle of influence. This is what you can focus on. When all these different shifts happen in the balance, you need to increase your value or increase your price tag. Just as all those other vendors increase their price tag, you increase yours as well. So if you're controlling your own work, you can do that. Now, if you're getting a salary, it would be a little difficult and you would need to look elsewhere where someone will be willing to pay for that value. The long-term effect here is raising your own value, and we will get to that as point number two. So focus on your circle of influence, so focus on what you can do. This actually reminds me of a very nice teaching also by Paul and Roddy, and it was about the 7 levels of character. It was part of the As a Man Thinketh study, and it was also shared in the Think and Grow Rich 5 study earlier in this year. There's 7 different levels of character. Long story short is, you got this kind of like critical line of courage. Below that line, there are levels of apathy, grief, anger, pride. It's always looking outside. Below that level of courage, it's looking outside and getting angry, looking outside and feeling sad, looking outside and feeling fearful. Now, we will all be hit by these feelings when change happens, when crises happen. But when things calm down and we get back into control again, are we going to stay in that level below the level of courage, or above that level of courage and above is where the shift in focus happens, and you look to the inside on what you can affect, and that's where you get to levels of action and planning and execution, and there's you go up to those levels of love, loving yourself, feeling satisfied, feeling serene, feeling calm, because now you're looking at what you can control. Again, very nice lesson about the 7 levels of character. If you want to check that out, you would find it in As a Man Thinketh or in Think and Grow Rich 5. Second lesson, raise your own value. So that's the best long-term action one can take from this, and always look, if any other shifts are happening, I can control this. And even if there are no shifts happening, this is what I could continue to work on. So I can put more time, and that would increase my value, just like that. If I have some spare time and I'm not using it, so I can put more time. I can put more effort. I can acquire more knowledge. That can come from studying. That can come from watching, videos like this and staying on a community like ours. It can come from getting different accreditations. Also, it could mean don't get too sucked into more and more accreditations because you have enough, but you're just not fixing your right price tag to reflect your right value. So beware of that. Your experience and your insights. Make sure that that special something you are adding is actually special, different, unique. It's not the same as everybody else is saying, and get paid for that. Practice, do the videos, submit videos like this one, practice your speaking skills, practice whatever skill else you're doing. Hone your skills, increase your value, continue to do it, and make sure that you do get paid the price tag you set for your value. And that gets us to the last point to close. That your services, whether you get a salary and you're a steady employee, or you're working freelance, working for yourself, or you have your own business, whatever your situation is, but your value, your product and services, your time, effort, all that, that is actually the corner called payment in someone else's triangle, in someone else's tri-balance of value. You are a vendor to them. And if you're an employee, you are still a payment. They need to pay you. Maybe they own a business and you're working for them as a private business. Maybe you work in a corporate, still the same thing. Someone owns that money, as again, it's just an agreement of value. We're not going to try not to call it money anymore, so we don't get hooked up on the old programming. Someone is paying you that value for your services, whatever that is. So you are a payment in someone else's balance. So what that means is people are going to try to keep it down. They're going to fight you for it. If they're paying you a salary, they're going to try to keep it down. If they're paying for your services, they're going to try to keep it down. You need to be aware that just because they are bringing you down, because the market is going down, because they don't want to pay more, because they are focusing on what the government is doing, because they're being affected. Simply what they're trying to do, from your perspective, they're just trying to bring this down. So this is the same, this has changed, so I'm just trying to bring this down. I'm trying to convince people I either don't want your products, or please take less money from me, take a less price tag from me right now. Usually what the vendors do tell you, it's the same value, we can't go down. That's what they tell you. You do the same for them. So when people are trying to keep your price tag the same despite the value going down, and that just means your value going down, you can put your foot down and say, this is my value and I need to get paid for it. What reflects it? You could either maybe leave a job, move around. Now again, I'm not promoting drastic moves in crisis situations, but what I'm saying is think about it in these terms. What's my value? I might be getting less for my value now because this is the situation. But do not get fooled and let them, whoever they are, fool you into believing that that is your value, that your value is going down. You set your value above the level of courage. You focus on your time, effort, knowledge, experience, and insights. You set it against that measurement. If it changes, you just have to keep the balance in your favor. So eventually, the whole idea about what we want and what we want to buy and what we can buy and all the things we want in our life for ourselves, necessities or otherwise, are just a balance of three factors affecting each other, and it's just an agreement, a promise of value. And that means value is an idea, ideas are thoughts, and thoughts are energy. And that concludes what I wanted to share with you today. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the lesson today. You can find more about this either on my podcast, so that would be therenaissancecafe.podbean.com, or on iTunes. You can find it, The Renaissance Cafe. Every time I have any of these thoughts, that's the first place I share them on. Also on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, that would be youtube.com/M.Refaat, M.Refaat. You'd find a lot of those videos there. And the podcast is also recorded in a playlist on the YouTube channel. My website itself has a lot of other announcements and articles on the blog, www.themrefaat.com. And finally, of course, on Facebook, facebook.com/theMrefaat, same thing. Please, I'd like to see you there. We can talk a little more about these kind of lessons, any books I'm reading, any lessons I'm reading, all these ideas that pop up. First place you would find them would be on the podcast. Other than that, you can also join me for in-depth studying of these kinds of topics in some of the mastermind groups that I run. So just drop me a message on Facebook, just tell me mastermind interested, and I'll get back to you. Thank you once again very much for following. I hope you liked it. I hope you find it beneficial, and I hope to see you again soon. Stay safe, stay home. See you again soon. Bye.